And I will give Rodrigo all the credit for setting a really beautiful working environment where you feel really safe and some place that you can play around in and feel safe in that world. And then the testament to Eli for simply writing a very well-rounded character. I think that oftentimes we look at a character from a single lens, and I think that in this particular script, given the fact that it takes place over 4 days in one location where it's just two people talking, you were able to actually explore all the facets of a human. And particularly my character, yeah, she's a daughter, she's a mother, she's an addict, and probably not in that order. So it was just more fun than anything, because that is no single person's just one thing. I think we're all, juggling a million which ways. We're all someone's kid. Some of us have children, some of us have partners. We're someone's husband, we're someone's wife, we're someone's daughter, we're someone's son. Like, there's all these different elements to us that make us who we are.
Exactly, and I so appreciated the nuance with which all of you, the whole creative team, approached that and made that incredibly. You also undergo a remarkable physical transformation. We could see that in the trailer. When you're going through that, the makeup and the hair and the prosthetics, how does that, do you feel like you're turning in? I remember Michael Douglas once told me when he did Wall Street, once he got that suit on and he lit that first cigarette of the day, he was Gordon Gekko. Like, it helped. So tell us a little bit about that transformation.
For me, I had, I think at the time, maybe like 8 months to lose weight to look like a heroin addict, which is enough time, right? Like, for me, I'm pretty small build anyway, so given 5 to 10 pounds makes a very large impact on my physique. So weight loss aside, I think that when we talked about her visual, the wardrobe stylist actually came across a couple different visuals to like help facilitate the character's look. And there was one in particular, and I looked at this girl and I was like, I want this hair. And they were like, okay, so let's get you a wig. And I was like, no, I think I'm gonna go and bleach my hair. And they were like, okay. Rodrigo's like, yeah, do it. So I will tell you, the hardest part was simply finding a stylist or a hair colorist that would allow me to color my hair purposefully to look bad. Was one of the hardest, funniest things to go through, because I was like, no, I want roots, and I want it to look like she went like this with some green dye. And they're like, I don't understand. And I was like, just give me the dye. And then when we were doing the hair coloring process, I took the dye in my hands and I was like this. It's very easy. Like, don't touch it. And I was like, don't make it look pretty. And I felt like the colorist was having like a panic attack. But when that was all done and I looked at myself in the mirror, I genuinely was like, oh, I can do it now. So for me, above all else, was having this visual. I mean, I looked sickly, right? Like, I looked like I was already unhealthy due to my weight loss. And then on top of it, I just didn't look like myself with bleached yellow hair, dark black roots. And it was all off of a photo that I saw online. And I'm super grateful for having that photograph. So I love the transformation. I loved it. As far as like the pop marks and that kind of stuff, probably less so of an impact on me daily than it did looking at myself in the mirror and not recognizing myself.
Yeah. Were you and Glenn, were you able to spend some time with Libby and Amanda, the mother and daughter that Eli wrote about?
I would say pretty minimal time.
What was that?
Oh, I'm on Washington Post. Oh. This is the thing about Zoom. My husband's like, I'm going to the bathroom, guys. I was like, okay, babe, good.
Yeah, guys, I'm going to take care of some family business.
I mean, guys,
we're there. It's a pandemic. It's the life we live.
It's real, right? Glenn and I, yes, on Zoom. We spent minimal time on Zoom. We chatted with them. I think I spoke to her maybe twice, maybe. The thing about it was they're now at a place where they've made amends with where they were. And so talking to them about where she was, it's a little hard. That's the truth. I think whenever you talk to an addict about where they were 10 years ago, their perception of reality is going to be skewed. And so I didn't want that to skew what Eli had written. And I didn't want her to think that I was going to be imitating her or mimicking her or doing an impersonation of her. So for me, less hurt, I think, was more watching videos of addicts talking about being an addict while still being an addict. That to me was more interesting than actually talking to an addict post-addiction or post-rehab.
Fascinating.
Yeah, you know what it is? It's the fact that all the movies that you were mentioning, or like the after school specials that, for instance, I grew up with, everything was all a scare tactic. It was like, don't do this, it's bad, you will die, this is scary, don't do drugs, right? Like that's what it was. And I think that there's humanity behind addiction. And I think only recently have we as society identified addiction as a sickness. I think before we looked at it as a choice. You have a choice, like just stop doing drugs, right? And I myself was, in my 20s when my friends were addicted to drugs, I was like, I don't understand, just stop, like just don't do it. And it's so much easier said than done. And I am really fortunate that I didn't fall into that trap. And I also in my 20s didn't allow myself to have sympathy for somebody who did. And so doing this film and trying to genuinely wrap my head around somebody who's so addicted and it's such a sickness that they can't even stop it for their children, I myself in my 20s would have been like, that's not possible. And now having kids, I look at it and I go, there's nothing, I would move a mountain for my children. What's the psychology behind not being able to stop doing drugs? And so I think that I become a very different person. I think that there's like an honest disease that we need to acknowledge and wrap our head around and realize that it's more than just a choice of like, do I, do I not? It's not that simple. It's not so black and white.
I'd like to give you the last word in terms of how you see your character Molly, and I guess to the degree that she overlaps with Amanda, what's the essence of that character that you would like for the audience to take away from the film?
I know that this word is overused in the zeitgeist, but I do honestly believe in empathy. Like I think forgiveness and acceptance and lack of judgment. I just hope that people have a different understanding of what real addiction is like instead of villainizing it, because it's so easy to look at it and be like, well, she's the villain in the story. And I think it's so much more complicated than that. So what do I hope people take away from the character is that she's doing the best that she can. And having then, since, once I started into the project, I ended up talking to a lot more recovering addicts, people that wouldn't admit that they were addicts, and they're all good people. They really are. It's not like this one villain in the story where they're a horrible person and they're out to get you and they want to do ill in the world. They actually do want to succeed and they just can't figure it out, but they're trying really hard.
Well said. Well, unfortunately, we are out of time, so we'll have to leave things there. Mila Kunis, Rodrigo Garcia, Eli Zaslow, thank you so much for joining us. This has been an incredible conversation.
Thanks.
Thanks for having me.
See you all.